Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you today by MegaPixx Media. Joining me is Sylvain Charlebois, who is Senior Director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab and a professor in food distribution and policy at Dalhousie University. Thanks, Sylvain, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Well, I know you do a lot of writing for different publications out there, and your most recent effort talked about meat consumption and meat prices in Canada. Tell me what you're seeing, first of all, in terms of prices and what's happening for the meats that we buy at grocery store these days.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's all red. That's what I'm seeing. In fact, actually, you just got a few reports suggesting that the barbecue season, last 12 weeks, haven't been friendly to the meat trifecta, which includes, of course, chicken, pork, and beef. In fact, sales are down, way down, even though people have gone out more often at the restaurant. In retail, numbers are really, really low. So pork, we got a minus 17% in sales. That's volume,
Yeah.
not just in dollars, in volume. Minus 12 for pork, and sorry, it's minus 17 for chicken, minus 12 for pork, and minus 6 for beef. So those are really horrible numbers. And when you look elsewhere beyond the meat counter, if you look at vegetable proteins, well, sales are actually up. And there are some good deals. About a year ago, vegetable proteins or plant-based products were actually more expensive, but not anymore. There's more competition now. In fact, this fall, we're expecting many new products to enter the Canadian market. So we're expecting prices to drop even more, making that source of protein much more affordable for consumers. So hasn't been a great summer, even though, I mean, the weather was actually quite good for barbecues. I don't know about you, Mario, but
Yeah.
in our area, I mean, almost every night we could have used a barbecue. And so you can see that really something's going on there.
How much has the price of meat gone up, say, in the last year?
A very good question. Often I hear from different folks, well, it's a supply and demand thing. Well, in distribution, it doesn't really work that way. Grocers will, first of all, protect margins, and secondly, they'll actually set prices based on what they think the market can bear. That's basically it. The rest is a bit of an art. And so even though prices actually did drop, or sales actually dropped this summer for the meat trifecta, uh, prices have actually gone up at the same time. So for beef, they went up about, according to our analysis, about 10%, and both pork and chicken are actually up about 5%. So you can tell that really, even though there was less traffic at the meat counter, they weren't necessarily using meat products as loss leaders, if you will.
What is causing the prices to go up then?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, I think the biggest thing is what happened with grains. I mean, 2021 is a tale of two stories when it comes to grains. First, it was Asia, China in the spring buying everything. China was actually reportedly even buying next year's harvest, for goodness sake. And so that really just brought prices higher. Things calmed down in May when China started to cancel some contracts, which was, of course, a good thing. But then after that, Mother Nature took over, and we saw droughts, drought spells all over the northern hemisphere, Canada, the US, Russia, even flooding in Europe has really made things rough for farmers. And so farmers will actually do very well if they have something to sell. The problem is that a lot of them won't have anything to sell, even though they're able to grow products. And that's really the big thing with climate change. And what people don't understand is that, yes, you can still grow stuff, but the quality has been compromised. So in some areas, in the prairies, for example, we're expecting maybe 35 to 40% of the wheat to be used for the human chain. The rest will be basically diverted to do something else. And that's why prices are so high. Feeding animals is costing way more money, which is why futures for livestock are up as well. And right now, what's happening is that a lot of livestock producers are getting rid of their herds. And so inventories are getting lower and again, propelling prices higher. It's the same thing that happened in 2014 when beef prices went up 25% in a month. In 1 month, I don't think it's going to happen again, but prices are still increasing.
Yeah.
But we are likely to see lower inventories into the fall.
All right. I wanted to touch a little bit on the trend in terms of people going to sort of plant-based protein. Do you see that as a growing trend, and is that going to, and pardon the pun, but is it going to eat away at the industry, the typical meat industry in Canada?
I don't know if it's going to take away business from the livestock industry. I've always seen both as complementary, to be honest, Mario.
Yeah.
I actually do think that Canadians are actually are willing to reduce the amount of meat they consume, the amount of animal proteins, but we need proteins, and so they'll look at other options. And because of the pandemic, Canadians are actually more food literate. They know of their options. They know their way around the kitchen way more than before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So if something doesn't go well at the meat counter, they think it's too expensive. Well, they have options. They can go somewhere else in the grocery store and figure something out, which could be a cheaper option. That's kind of what's going on right now. Which is why I think the parallel with 2014 is interesting, because in 2014, if you remember, nobody knew about Beyond Meat then.
Yeah.
Now, today, there are way more options for consumers, so they can actually hedge against animal proteins.
Okay, one last question for you, Sylvain. When you look at overall food prices at grocery stores, what have they been doing here in Canada in the past year?
Well, most sections of the grocery store have seen the effects of inflation. I think all of them except one. Produce, vegetables, and proteins. We often talk about the price of fruits and vegetables, but this year it hasn't been an issue really. Prices are actually much lower, which is interesting. So if you want to, find some good deals, you'll find some in fruits and vegetables. But beyond that, I think we are likely to see higher food prices overall. And the one thing that we're expecting also is more shrinkflation cases. Manufacturers seeing input costs go higher, and as a result, instead of playing around with prices, they actually reduce quantities and charge you the same price. And so we've seen a lot of cases this year. It's going to be a big year for shrinkflation.
Okay, super. Well, thanks very much for taking the time to do this, Sylvain.
My pleasure. Take care.
And I've got, you know what, I'm one of those barbecue guys. And last night it was pork chops. Tonight there's sausages waiting to go on the grill.
Well, enjoy, my friend. Enjoy. And I think we have a barbecue scheduled for tomorrow night. Tonight is chili, but tomorrow night it's going to be steaks with a nice glass of wine.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks a lot again for joining us. That was Sylvain Charlebois, who is Senior Director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab and a Professor in Food Distribution and Policy at Dalhousie University. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you today by MegaPixx Media.